Um, okay, it's been a while since I've made videos, and the reason for that is because I'm more busy during the summer than I am during school, which I know that sounds pretty odd, but it's true. And I haven't had a chance to make videos in a while, so I guess I decided I better make a video. Um, so I'm gonna talk about what it takes to be an author. Um, I've been working on my chapters recently. I'm up to chapter 7 now. Last time I mentioned anything about it, I was on 5.5. So I'm making progress. Um, but for anybody that out there that's wanting to become an author and hasn't even started yet, I'm telling you, getting started is the art because I don't know, it's difficult when you're trying to make the project and it's not coming out the way you want it. So I guess trial and error would be the best thing you could do. So getting started, that'll be your hardest part. The rest is a lot easier from that point on. Um, about I think every video on YouTube, at least every one I've seen, about how to be an author or learning to be a writer or storyteller, they always tell you the same thing. Read a lot of books. And I'm not going to tell you any differently, except, in my opinion, it should be changed to read a lot of stories or listen to a lot of stories. Because I'm sorry, any form of entertainment that's story based will help you, even if it's a video game or TV. Heck, I'm reading mostly manga and comics to help me with my story, just because I like the way those stories are formed better. Granted, because of that, my writing style doesn't have extremely a lot of detail. It's mostly dialogue. I'm very good at dialogue, which is probably why an artist would be one of the best things for me. Is because um, I think I leave enough room for someone to do enough art, so I don't seclude them with too much detail, yet I give enough detail to satisfy the reader. Um, so yeah, they say read a lot of books. I say read what you like. They say read everything you can get your hands on. Even if you don't want to read it, I say I don't think that's good because if you're reading something you don't like, and you're getting yourself put in that mindset, that you're going to end up with something more likely that you don't like. But that's my personal opinion on it. I like to read books to get me into the mood, or at least manga. I read other books too. I read Harry Potter and a series of unfortunate events I still think is good. And I tried some Stephen King. I thought he was alright, just iffy. I'm not a really big fan of his. I didn't even finish the book. I've tried, I think, 2 of his books, and neither of them really were good enough for me to want to finish. And I haven't tried Aragon yet, but I'm thinking about it. Um, so yeah, read to get you in the mood. I like whenever I'm starting to write something a little depressing, I'll read Full Metal Alchemist. Full Metal Alchemist isn't always depressing, but it can be a very depressing show sometimes. And when I'm about to have a lighthearted scene, I like to read One Piece. And, I do that. And I also like to listen to music to get me in the mood. Though sometimes I like to listen to the opposite kind of music for the mood that it is, just so that I can put something in there that'll quickly change the mood. But, oh well. And reading will help you with ideas, but as long as you know what the difference between ripping something off and being inspired is, because this is where a lot of authors, I think, make mistakes, is they go too closely to their source material, so they end up pretty much end up doing the same story, except for worse, because they copied it pretty much. They also say you're supposed to carry notebooks. I take notes. Like, I've drawn a map for my story. I've drawn some charts about the magic or whatever. But I haven't sat in there and taken notes over like stuff that's gonna happen. I just keep that in my head. But you do what you want. They also say to help you be a good writer, you're supposed to have two notebooks. For one for your original stories, and another one for fan fiction, because they say fan fiction actually helps you be a good author. I don't know if it's true. I haven't written any fan fiction. I'm not really interested in doing any fan fiction. I don't know. To me, I'd rather let the story be as it is without adding my own stuff to it, because I don't know. I have a feeling that it'll ruin my perspective on it if I write a fanfic. But I like reading fanfics. Fanfics, they can be pretty entertaining. I've read some fanfics. Sorry, it's pretty early in the morning. Fear is something that I think will get to a lot of people, because fear that their story isn't good enough, or fear that it's childish, or it's too adult, or it's too this. Just fear in general will get to you. It's even gotten to me, and I don't even have really a fan base yet. I've got a couple people reading my stuff, but not a whole lot. And write for yourself. Write a story that you want to write. Do not write to get money. Like those authors that jumped on the Harry Potter bandwagon. Like, I think Charlie Bone would be a very good example of jumping on the bandwagon. That's one of the only successful stories that jump on a bandwagon. Like I was at a bookstore and they said, if you like Harry Potter, you like these. And I looked at all these authors, and they all pretty much ripped off Harry Potter, and none of them were successful. You have a bigger chance of being successful by trying out for the NFL than you do trying to write to get money. So write for yourself. Don't write to get money. And pretend you already have a fan base. Or at least this is something I like to do. While I'm writing, I like to pretend, or think, what would my fans think if this happened, or if this happened? Would that upset them, or would that actually be good and satisfy them? Because you want to pretend you already have a fan base, even though you don't, just so that when you're trying to make sure something's satisfying, just sit there asking yourself, will this satisfy someone after they read this part? And critics will be they'll be harsh to you. That's their job, okay? When you do get your story out there and you send it in and they're doing their job and critiquing it. I don't even know if that's a word. Critiquing. Oh well. When they're looking at your story, they're going to be very harsh because that's their job. They're supposed to be harsh. They do that because they want to get paid. So don't take what critics say too seriously, but do pay attention to what they say, because when you have a critic review, I guarantee there's always going to be some negative in there, because that's their job.